So many of you are familiar with what Fresno Housing has to offer in the form of our low-income apartments and some of our rental assistance programs. But right now, Fresno Housing actually does have an opportunity for several single-family home ownership opportunities. All of these homes that we're going to have to offer are going to be for households that make between 50% and 80% of the area median income. And we will have a chart coming up later so that you can look at where your household income might fall within those ranges. Okay. So for each of the homes that Fresno Housing currently has an opportunity for, there is a range of down payment assistance options available to supplement the first mortgage. Depending on the program, some of the assistance may be in the form of a deferred second loan where there might be a balloon payment that's due in 30 years. But then there are also several that are going to be forgivable after a set number of years. So if you are considering home ownership, there are several standard qualifications that any homeowner would need to have to look to meet in order to qualify for a loan. So I'm going to go over a few of those for you. So the first item is you will need to have good credit. And so how do we define good credit? Well, you should not have anything on your credit report that's recent within the past few years that shows accounts that are in collections or liens or a bankruptcy where it's been less than 3 years since the end of it. And also, most commercial lenders, when they're looking to provide a mortgage, will be looking at a credit score of 620 or higher. There are some exceptions, though. I have seen some credit unions that will go as low as 580. And so you will need to check with your specific lender on their minimum requirements. I do want to just give a reminder that for questions, please do type in the Q&A and not in the chat function so that our staff can respond to your questions. There are several websites that you can go to if you're not sure what your credit score looks like. So we provided a few here, some links if you want to get a free credit score and get an idea of what you're looking like on your credit. So those three we have listed here are creditkarma.com, freescoreonline.com, and annualcreditreport.com. So some other requirements to qualify for a mortgage loan are going to be, hold on, make sure my slide goes, are going to be that you have a minimal amount of debt. And that means your monthly payments that you're making on things other than rent, for car payments, student loan bills, credit card payments, etc. If you have a large amount of those, and they may not think that you can qualify to also pay your mortgage. And for our assistance, there are specific limits on how much debt that you can have. Also, you will need to be able to show your lender that you have at least 2 years of stable income. That can be income from different sources, whether it be employment or disability or Social Security, just as long as it's been stable and you can show them evidence of that. There are some exceptions on the employment if you recently graduated and your job pertains to the degree that you just received. There also is a requirement when you're buying a home to put a down payment on the house. And though our homes do have down payment assistance, there is still a portion of a cash down payment that is required. So you will need to have savings, and or if you're waiting for an opportunity where there may be several months before it's ready, you may have some time to save up for these down payments. Depending on whether or not you're interested in an existing home, which we have a few of, or a new construction home, which won't be available until next year, the down payment assistance varies. So, or the down payment requirements. So for the new construction homes, there is a 3% minimum cash down payment that is required of the total sales price of the home. So that is where we get this $10,000 to $12,000 range. Now the programs do allow that if you don't have all of those funds yourself, you can get some of that funding from a family member, as long as they're willing to write a letter stating that they're giving you this gift of the funding. So now that I've shared with you the general requirements for anybody who would be looking for a home, I want to share what some of our specific requirements are to be eligible for the down payment assistance that we have to offer. So for the first criteria, you do need to be a first-time home buyer. So that is defined as not having owned a home within the past 3 years. You also must be a resident of the county of Fresno, and they define that as you must have either lived or worked in the city or the county of Fresno for at least 6 months prior to purchasing a home. To meet the income qualifications for the down payment assistance, the total household income must be less than 80% of the area median income. And again, I will be showing the slides that show the income ranges later in the presentation. You also, if you do purchase one of our homes, you do have to live in the home, and it has to be your primary place of residence. You cannot purchase the home and then use it as a rental. The next item that you will need in order to qualify for down payment assistance would be a pre-qualification letter from a commercial lender. And so when you go to the lender, they will need to know our specific underwriting requirements, because they may have different requirements than we have for our down payment assistance. The first will be that the total monthly housing cost cannot exceed 35% of your household income, the monthly household income. And then including the house payment and any other monthly bills that you may have to pay, that total percentage cannot exceed 43% of your monthly income. And so those requirements, if the lender needs to reach out to us, we will be giving you an email address later in the presentation. If lenders have any questions about our requirements, they can reach out to us directly. The final item that is required for the down payment assistance is to complete a HUD-approved home ownership education class. Now, these are typically 8-hour classes. The providers will charge anywhere from $75 to $100 for the class. And then when you complete the class, you will need to provide us with a certificate evidencing that you completed the course in order to qualify for the down payment assistance. And so we've listed here a few different places where you can go to take those courses once you think you're in the running for one of the homes. So the first item that you would need to assess whether you can pre-qualify will be getting together all of your income documentation and your photo IDs and going to a commercial lender so that they can check your credit score and they can let you know how much of a first mortgage that you can afford. So we're listing out for you some lenders that we've already started working with that have copies of all of our requirements, so they know how to underwrite your loan. And you don't have to choose anybody on this list, but just so that you know, they do already have our requirements. But any lender that you would like to work with, you can email us and we will provide them with that information for our requirements. So the first one is Guild Mortgage, and we have that contact information listed here. The second is Self-Help Credit Union. And if you're trying to take notes of this and rushing really fast, you can either email us after and we can re-provide these contacts to you, or we also will be posting a copy of the presentation for you to refer back to. The next is Tri-Counties Bank. And the last is Advisory Home Loans. But again, you can go to any lender that you choose. So I wanted to go through a little bit for you of what the overall process is going to look like. So for the new homes, they're not anticipated to be ready and finished with construction until between August and December of next year. So there's a little more time to go through these steps on those homes because we have about 9 months before they're going to be ready. I'm giving a few minutes for the interpreter. So as I stated, the first step in the process will be to get a lender pre-qualification letter. Then you can email that to our staff and they can determine if the mortgage amount that you've qualified for fits the criteria for the down payment assistance that we can partner with it. If there are any issues where you can't qualify for the mortgage the first time around, because there is a little bit of time, if you're pretty close and maybe you just need to pay off a bill or do something to work on your credit, or maybe you need time to save up your down payment, the good thing is you would have 9 months to do that before the first homes are going to be ready. So the second step would be if there's anything that you're close and you think you can work on your credit between now and then, that would be the time to do it. Once you have determined that you will qualify, then you can take the home ownership education class so that you can provide the certificate to us evidencing that you completed that requirement. If you have the lender pre-qualification letter and your home ownership certificate, and we've matched you up to say, yes, you qualify for one of our homes, then you will be placed on a waiting list for the new construction homes. And we'll continue to communicate with you throughout the process until the homes are ready and work with your lender. This would be the time to be saving up that 3% down payment that would be required, or speaking with your family if you're considering getting a portion of those funds as a gift from a family member. Once the homes are ready, and actually within at least 2 months of when the homes are going to be ready, we would want to solidify your total mortgage package with the lender to make sure that we have final approvals before the house is finalized and you can get keys. And then as soon as the home is ready, then we would close on the loans with your lender, including your down payment assistance loans, and you would get the keys to your house. So for our existing homes that we do have a few of, it's a little bit quicker process because those homes, we have some that are ready right now, and then we have some that are going to be ready within the next couple of months. So there's not as much time to work on any credit concerns or down payments within that time for the existing homes. So those would go straight from getting a pre-qualification letter from a lender to taking the home buyer's education class to closing on the loan with your down payment. And that amount, again, it may vary. It depends on what your lender requirements are when you go to the bank. But if you have those three things and there is a home available within your income level, then you could be selected for a home and close on it within the next 3 months. So the income limits, I'm sure you're all curious where you fall into the range for the income requirements. So you'll see in the first row, these are the income limits for 50% of the area median income. Now, this is total household income, and this is the maximum for that family size. And then it changes, it goes up a little bit depending on the size of the household. This chart goes up to a household size of 8. The next row is the 60% income limits. Again, we're estimating that in order to qualify for a minimum mortgage of $100,000, that the household income should be around $40,000. And so that's where we have noted is the beginning portion for each of these income limits. But for that household size, this is the maximum income limit for that household size before you go into the next tier of income. And so as you review the chart, you'll see that the highest income that can qualify and still get our down payment assistance is the 80% income limit. But as you can see, that varies as you go down the chart, depending on how many people are in the household. So you can review this chart and see where you think your household might fit, if it's between that 50 and 80% range. On this slide, we have some estimated mortgage assumptions so that you can get an idea of what your house payment might look like, depending on what income level you're in. So these are estimates based on current interest rates, which vary depending on your credit score. They vary depending on the federal rate. And so these are just estimates to give you an idea. The minimum requirement is a $100,000 mortgage. So we do have homes that are specifically set aside to certain income levels. So we have homes that are available in the 50% range, homes that are available in the 60% range, and homes that are available in the 80% range. So by looking at this chart, you can kind of see, based on what you're paying now, whether you think this would be a comfortable monthly payment for you and would be within the affordable range for your household. Now, for our new construction homes, 30 of the 33 homes, which I'll be showing you a little bit later, are affordable and have the down payment assistance. But also, if you are exceeding this 80% income level and you're thinking, well, I was really close, but I'm just over this income level, we do have 3 market rate homes that will be the full mortgage price for that development. And so we'll be sharing more information about that in a few slides. So I think some of you have been wondering, where are these homes and what kind of opportunities are there? So this is a list of the properties that we are currently marketing for sale. The next opportunity that we have is in the city of Sanger. So we do have 5 3-bedroom homes. Those are actually undergoing some renovations right now. So those are the ones that are gonna be ready in a couple of months after all the renovations are complete. And those homes are in the Church and Academy area, and they're going to be restricted for households that make between 60% and 80% of the area median income. So hopefully you're remembering your chart and kind of thinking about where you could fall within these criteria. And then the last opportunity we have is the new construction homes that I told you about. So these are located off of Florence and Walnut. They're currently doing the infrastructure on the site right now. You might drive by there and see the trucks working. It's going to be called Heritage Estates in Southwest Fresno. And those are going to be 33 newly constructed homes that will be available starting in August of next year. And so those are specifically broken down where some of the homes are at 50% level for qualification, some are at 60%. Some are at 80% of the AMI, and then there are those 3 market rate homes that I told you about. So total, we have 39 homes that are going to be available with down payment assistance through our programs. So you might be thinking, what are my next steps? Now that you've seen all of this information and you've tried to gauge whether or not you think you're ready to get into home ownership, the first thing that you would do is meet with a commercial mortgage lender. They can confirm your credit, your income, and they can give you that pre-qualification letter that will let you know how much of a mortgage you can afford. And once you have that information, then that's when you reach out to us at Fresno Housing. I've given our email address here. This is going to be for all of the homes. So it says info@heritageestates.com, but you can email that address also for the existing home opportunities that we have in Sanger and in Southeast Fresno. Once we have your pre-qualification letter, then staff can try to match you up with one of our opportunities and let you know what home you might qualify for and how much down payment assistance you might be eligible for. So I'm providing here any questions for follow-up. If you have provided any questions in the Q&A, do we have any in there right now? Let's see. I see one question that's open. How much do you help for down payment for the Sanger homes? I see Victoria and Carson are both on that one. Looks like we've already responded to about 21 questions. So if you do have additional questions and we weren't able to get to your questions during this presentation, you can follow up with our email address at info@heritageestatesfresno.com. Also, there is a website if you'd like to see pictures of the floor plans and the elevations for the new construction homes. And there's also some similar information about our mortgage assistance. You can go to the Heritage Estates website. So that is also listed here at www.heritageestatesfresno.com. Now, some of you, if you're familiar with the Section 8 program or the Housing Choice Voucher program, you may have heard at other meetings a reference to HCV homeownership. If that is you and you're curious about what might be available through that program, if you're already or almost going to be an HCV recipient, then you can email their contact information at hcvhomeownership@fresnohousing.org, and they can give you information if you're a voucher holder. They also have a phone number available here on the slide if you would like to reach out to them. And that is coming to the end of our presentation. So any other open questions that we need to respond to? Like we have.
Yeah, Christina, you want to address those questions that are there in the chat now, the open ones?
Says, how much are the homes in Sanger? We're anticipating that they're going to be around $350,000, but we will be getting appraisals to determine the final value for those. If you have been at your job for 18 months, I see that question. Can you start the process now to be able to get qualified at 2 years? I would say absolutely, yes, go ahead and start the process because you're pretty close. I also see the question that states, how long do you have to own the house before you can sell it or rent the property? Well, that is going to depend on the particular kind of down payment assistance that you get. For the new construction homes, you have to live in it for the duration of that program's requirements. So for instance, I think the longest down payment assistance that we have for the new construction, it will apply on the 50 and 60% AMI homes. That one will be on the home for 45 years. And so you have to live in the home for that full term unless you have to repay that portion of the loan. So that's the caveat. If you want to sell the home, then you have to repay that down payment assistance. And renting it, you would have to fully repay all of those commitments in order to be able to rent the home. As long as you have those down payment assistance on your title, then you have to live in the home as your primary residence. The next question is, will the available homes only be in Fresno and Sanger? Yes, the only opportunities that we have right now are in Fresno and Sanger. The question, where in Fresno are they going to be? So that one home that is available right now, it is on Chance Avenue near Cedar and McKinley in Southeast Fresno. And then the Southwest Fresno homes that are new construction are off of Florence and Walnut. Those are the ones that are going to be available towards the end of next year. I see a question about liens. If you have a lien on your credit report that is over 3 years old, borrow can pay through escrow. That would be a question for your lender. That would not be under our requirements. The next question was, so do you guys help us keep the mortgage to what we can afford, and how does it work if the home is over the price we can afford? Okay, so the down payment assistance that we have is limited to a mortgage that is 35% of your household income. So yes, we do make sure that it's affordable for you by requiring that it not be more than 35% of your monthly income. And then depending on the opportunity, will determine if there's enough down payment assistance to fill in the gap of the purchase price once you see how much of a mortgage you can afford. On the questions on qualifying, if you co-sign for someone else, that would be a question for the lender because that's going to be specific to their underwriting requirements. I'm not sure on the question that says if I were to pass, who
I think
gets the house?
I believe that's referencing if they were to pass away.
Oh,
How would that work in regards to the mortgage assistance? Is it all due and payable, or?
that would be depending on if there is a will or a trust on the house that leaves the house to someone. If there's a living trust and the household says, if I pass away, I want to leave it to my children, and they name those people, then the restrictions would pass to the new owner. The new owner has to abide by the same guidelines as the original owner. The next question is, what should be my first step in starting the process to home ownership? I would say reviewing those requirements that I listed, as far as seeing what your credit score currently is, looking at how much debt that you have to see if there's things that you might need to pay off. If you're trying to get into a new home, it's not the time to buy a new car or to incur any new debt. You want to stop getting any new bill payments and start paying down what you have, and then saving up cash for your down payment and closing costs. Those were the three things that I would really focus on. And then meeting with the lender, they can let you know how close you are and what you might qualify for. The next question was, how often will new homes be added if you aren't interested in these homes? For now, these are the only opportunities that we're aware of. We did have a 10-year break between doing homeownership opportunities, and so we would announce it if we had any new opportunities, but for right now, these are the only ones that we have. The next question is, if I get approved for the grant, do I have to pay that back? So it depends on which down payment assistance that you qualify for. We have one source of down payment assistance that is a balloon payment at the end of 30 years. So it would be required to be repaid after 30 years. But then we have several other forms of down payment assistance that are forgiven, but you have to maintain the requirements for so many years. Some of them are as low as 5 years. Others go up to 45 years, but they are forgiven after that point as long as you live in the home the entire time. All right, it looks like we are caught up on questions. Oh, one more. It says, when is the deadline of the help? So the assistance that we have available right now, we have for the Southeast Fresno home. That's going to be coming up now. We want to sell that home hopefully within the next 60 days. For the new construction homes, the assistance ends when the last home is sold. And so we are anticipating that that will happen by December of next year, would be when we would sell the last house, and then this current down payment assistance that we're offering would end. I'm worried I'm talking too fast for the interpreters. The next question is, so once we get pre-qualified, we email you guys our approval, and what's the turnaround time frame? So once you send us a pre-qualification letter, we can respond at least within a day to reach out to you and get more information. So we can let you know based on your income level, your household size, and how much you qualify for, if some of our down payments programs would fit you. We should be able to answer that question within a week at the most. And then you would also need to work on saving up for that cash down payment. A balloon payment, that means that the entire amount of that loan, which in this source, it's up to $50,000 is the maximum for that particular source, that total $50,000 that would be a second mortgage that's deferred would be due in 30 years. So in 30 years, you would either need to fully pay that $50,000 or reach out to them to refinance and get a new loan on that from the bank. The next question is, what if you pay before the 30 years, then start paying the second loan? Yes, you can absolutely do that. If you decide that you want to get ahead, especially on the one that is a must pay in 30 years, you can definitely pay that off early as soon as you can. The next question is, can you use the WISH program for down payment assistance for the new development? Yes. If there are other banks that may have some supplemental down payment assistance available, I do know of some that use the WISH program, then you can layer that on top of the down payment assistance that we have. All right, caught up on questions? What is the max CLTV? I'm not sure what the CLTV stands for. So if you could reword that question.
I think they're referring to the combined loan to value.
Oh, that is going to be based on the lender requirements. If that is a question regarding the maximum loan to value, we don't have a requirement for that on our down payment assistance, but the bank definitely will. Next question, if the equity of the house goes up and I decide to sell the house, do you keep some of the equity? Also, can we pay off the house early? So in order to have equity, the house would have to be worth more than you owe on all of the loans combined, not just the first mortgage. So if you sell the house, you would have to have enough to pay off all of those second mortgages in order to keep some of that equity. So you can pay the house off early if you so desire. The question, so do we have to pay the down payment back? Only for the one down payment assistance program, the one that has the 30-year deferred payment, that one does have to be paid back at the end of 30 years. The next question, if my mom were to be my co-signer, would she have to be a resident or a citizen? That will also be up to the bank and their particular loan requirements. That is not a restriction that we have. The next question is, do we need to sign up now to be able to qualify? Depending on which homes you're interested in, if it's for the existing homes, yes, absolutely. I would go right away because we have some ready now and some ready within a couple of months. But the sooner you start the process, the better, for sure. Okay. Looks like we're caught up on questions. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and end the Q&A for now. If we didn't get to your question, then please do email us at info@heritageestatesfresno.com, and then we can continue to respond to your questions. I just want to thank you all for joining us today. I hope that that was informative for you, and we will be sharing a copy of this PowerPoint presentation so that if you have friends or family also that are interested and they didn't get a chance to see this, they can go back and watch it, or you can come back and reference the information. So thank you again. Have a good day.